The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly, dotted with countless stars and swirling galaxies. Among these celestial bodies, a powerful force had risen over the centuries: the Galactic Empire. This empire, spanning thousands of star systems, ruled with an iron fist and an insatiable hunger for more power. Far from the empire's central worlds, a small blue planet called Earth spun quietly around its yellow sun. The people of Earth had just begun to explore their solar system, unaware of the great empire that controlled much of the galaxy. They dreamed of meeting alien life and joining a larger community of spacefaring races. One fateful day, Earth's deep space sensors picked up an unusual signal. At first, the scientists were excited, thinking they had found proof of alien life. But as the signal grew stronger, fear replaced their excitement. A massive fleet of ships, unlike anything humans had ever seen, entered the solar system. The Galactic Empire had arrived. Panic spread across Earth as the Imperial ships took up positions around the planet. World leaders scrambled to decide how to respond. Should they welcome the aliens? Should they prepare for war? Before they could make a decision, the Empire made the first move. A holographic message appeared in every major city on Earth. The image showed a tall, green-skinned alien with 4 arms and eyes that glowed like embers. It spoke in a deep, rumbling voice that was somehow understood by all who heard it. "People of Earth," the alien said, "I am Grand Admiral Zork of the Galactic Empire. Your planet now belongs to us. Resist, and you will be destroyed. Submit, and you may live as our subjects." The people of Earth were shocked. They had dreamed of meeting aliens, but not like this. Some wanted to fight, while others thought it was best to give in. In the end, Earth's leaders decided they had no choice but to submit. They were simply too weak compared to the Empire's advanced technology. Over the next few months, the Empire began to change life on Earth. They set up bases on the Moon and Mars. They took control of Earth's governments and resources. Humans were forced to work in factories and mines, producing goods for the Empire. At first, some humans tried to fight back. They formed rebel groups and attacked Imperial soldiers. But the Empire's response was always swift and brutal. Entire towns were destroyed as punishment for rebel actions. Soon, most people gave up hope of ever being free again. The Empire didn't just take Earth's resources. They also took its best and brightest minds. Young scientists and engineers were forced to work on Imperial projects. Some were even taken off-world to serve in other parts of the Empire. As Earth became just another conquered world in the vast Galactic Empire, its people learned more about their new rulers. The Empire had existed for thousands of years, constantly growing and conquering new worlds. They saw themselves as the rightful rulers of the galaxy, with all other races existing only to serve them. Humans were considered one of the lowest races in the Empire's hierarchy. They were treated little better than animals, useful only for their labor and resources. The once proud human spirit began to break under the weight of imperial oppression. But even in these dark times, a small flame of hope remained alive. Secret groups formed, passing on stories of Earth's past freedom and dreams of a better future. Parents whispered to their children about a time when humans ruled themselves and reached for the stars on their own terms. As the years passed, the people of Earth learned to survive under imperial rule. They adapted to new technologies and ways of life. Some even managed to gain positions of minor importance within the imperial system. But deep in their hearts, many still longed for freedom. Little did they know that far away, on a small imperial colony, an event was about to unfold that would change everything. A single act of cruelty would awaken the sleeping giant that was humanity's collective anger. The Empire was about to learn a harsh lesson, that even the smallest and seemingly weakest of races could become a force to be reckoned with when pushed too far. The stage was set for a conflict that would shake the very foundations of the Galactic Empire. And it all began with the death of a single human child. On a small dusty planet at the edge of the Galactic Empire, a human colony struggled to survive. This world, named New Hope, was home to about 10,000 people. They worked hard under the watchful eyes of their alien overlords, mining precious metals from the planet's rocky surface. Among the colonists was a young boy named Timmy. He was 8 years old, with bright blue eyes and a mop of unruly brown hair. Despite the harsh life on New Hope, Timmy always had a smile on his face. He loved to explore the areas around the colony, collecting strange rocks and dreaming of one day flying among the stars. One day, as Timmy played near the edge of the colony, he saw something shiny in the distance. Curious, he walked towards it, not realizing he was leaving the safe zone. As he got closer, he saw it was a piece of metal from an old spaceship. Excited by his discovery, Timmy didn't notice the approaching Imperial patrol. The patrol, led by a cruel officer named Captain Grax, spotted the young human. Grax was known for his hatred of humans and his harsh punishments. He ordered his soldiers to surround the boy. Timmy looked up, suddenly afraid. He had never been this close to the alien soldiers before. Their armor gleamed in the sunlight, and their weapons looked big and scary. "What are you doing outside the colony, human?" Captain Grax snarled. Timmy's voice shook as he answered, I was just looking at this metal, sir. I'm sorry if I did something wrong." Grax's eyes narrowed. "You humans never learn, always poking your noses where they don't belong." What happened next was too quick for Timmy to understand. Captain Grax raised his weapon and fired. A bright flash of light hit Timmy in the chest. The boy fell to the ground, a look of surprise frozen on his face. The other soldiers were shocked. Even they thought this was too cruel. One of them stepped forward. "Sir, he was just a child. Was that necessary?" Grax turned to the soldier, his face twisted with anger. "Are you questioning my orders? This will teach the humans to stay in line." Unknown to Grax, a hidden camera had recorded the whole incident. It was part of the colony's security system, meant to watch for dangerous animals. Now, it had captured something far more dangerous, the true face of the Empire's cruelty. Back in the colony, alarms went off. The security team saw the footage and couldn't believe their eyes. They quickly downloaded the video and sent it to Earth using a secret communication channel. Within hours, the video of Timmy's death spread across Earth like wildfire. People watched in horror as the innocent boy was killed for no reason. The sight of Timmy's smile turning to fear, and then to stillness, broke hearts and ignited fury. Governments tried to control the spread of the video, fearing the Empire's reaction. But they couldn't stop it. The footage was shared on every possible platform, viewed billions of times in just one day. All over Earth, people took to the streets. They carried pictures of Timmy, chanting his name and demanding justice. The anger that had been building for years finally had a focus, a symbol. Timmy became more than just a boy. He became a representation of every human who had suffered under the Empire's rule. World leaders, who had been cautious and submissive for so long, now faced immense pressure from their people. They couldn't ignore this incident. Emergency meetings were called, and for the first time since the Empire's arrival, Earth's nations spoke with one voice. A message was sent to the Galactic Empire's headquarters. It demanded justice for Timmy and better treatment for all humans. The message ended with a warning. "We will not tolerate such cruelty any longer. Respond wisely, or face the consequences." The Empire, used to crushing any sign of rebellion, quickly dismissed the warning. They saw Earth as a weak, conquered world that posed no threat. Little did they know, this single act of violence against a child had awakened a sleeping giant. As the Empire prepared its response, the people of Earth were already setting in motion plans that would change the galaxy forever. The death of one small boy was about to lead to the biggest conflict the Galactic Empire had ever faced. The Earth was buzzing with anger and determination. People everywhere talked about Timmy and the Empire's cruelty. In every country, leaders met to discuss what to do next. They knew they couldn't let this crime go unpunished, but they also feared the Empire's power. In Washington, D.C., The world's top leaders gathered for an emergency meeting. The room was tense as they debated their options. Some wanted to negotiate with the Empire, while others called for immediate action. As they argued, a young scientist named Dr. Sarah Chen quietly entered the room. She carried a tablet with information that would change everything. "Excuse me," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to her. "I have something you need to see." Dr. Chen connected her tablet to the big screen on the wall. A 3D model of a massive spaceship appeared. It was unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. "This," she explained, "is the Dreadnought. It's a ship design we've been working on in secret for years. It combines our best technology with what we've learned from the Empire. One Dreadnought could take on 10 of their best ships." The leaders looked at each other in amazement. Hope began to replace fear in their eyes. "How many of these can we build?" asked the U.S. President. Dr. Chen took a deep breath. "With every factory on Earth working together, we could build 700,000 in a year." The room erupted in excited chatter. For the first time since the Empire arrived, Earth had a real chance to fight back. The Chinese president stood up. "We must do this," he said firmly. "For Timmy, for all our people, we must strike back." One by one, the other leaders nodded in agreement. It was decided. Earth would build its fleet and prepare for war. The next day, a global announcement was made. People around the world watched as their leaders explained the plan. Factories would be converted to build spaceships. Everyone would need to work hard and make sacrifices. At first, some people were scared. War with the Empire seemed impossible. But then pictures of Timmy were shown, reminding everyone why they had to fight. As the announcement ended, a strange thing happened. People everywhere began to cheer. They waved flags, hugged each other, and cried tears of joy. For the first time in years, they felt hope. The next few months were busy. Factories around the world changed to start building dreadnoughts. Scientists and engineers worked day and night to improve the designs. Farmers grew extra food to prepare for the coming war. People from all walks of life volunteered to help. Retired soldiers came back to train new recruits. Teachers taught their students about space and science to prepare them for life on spaceships. Even children helped by collecting scrap metal for the war effort. The Empire, thinking Earth was weak, ignored the increased activity. They believed humans were too primitive to be a real threat. This was their biggest mistake. As the dreadnoughts were built, they were hidden in underground hangars and on the far side of the moon. The Empire's spies saw nothing unusual. 1 year after Timmy's death, Earth was ready. 700,000 dreadnoughts were complete, each one crewed by brave men and women ready to fight for freedom. On the eve of the attack, the world held its breath. In homes, schools, and public spaces, people gathered to watch one last message from their leaders. The U.S. President spoke for all of humanity. "Tomorrow, we take our future back. We fight not just for ourselves, but for every race oppressed by the Empire. We fight for Timmy, and for all the children who deserve to grow up free. May our courage be strong, and may justice guide our hands." As the message ended, a deep silence fell over the Earth. In that quiet moment, billions of humans shared the same thought. Tomorrow, everything would change. The greatest battle in human history was about to begin, and the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. The day of the attack dawned bright and clear. On Earth, people woke up early, their hearts racing with excitement and fear. Today was the day humanity would strike back against the Galactic Empire. In orbit around Earth, the massive fleet of 700,000 dreadnoughts waited silently. Each ship was a marvel of human engineering, sleek and powerful. Inside, crews ran final checks on their systems, hands shaking slightly as they worked. Admiral Jane Foster stood on the bridge of the flagship, the ESS Avenger. She looked out at the vast array of ships before her and took a deep breath. The weight of humanity's future rested on her shoulders. "All ships report ready, Admiral," her second-in-command said. Admiral Foster nodded. Then it's time. Send the signal. Across the fleet, a simple message appeared on every screen. For Earth. For Timmy. Attack. With a flash of light, the Dreadnoughts vanished into hyperspace. The journey to the Empire's capital world would take 3 days. 3 days of nervous waiting, final preparations, and quiet prayers. Back on Earth, people gathered in front of screens to watch news reports. Regular updates came in from the fleet, each one met with cheers and applause. For the first time in years, humans felt like they were in control of their destiny. On the 3rd day, the fleet arrived at its destination. The Empire's capital world, Xyrex, loomed large in their view screens. It was a planet of towering cities and massive shipyards, the heart of the Empire's power. The Empire was caught completely by surprise. They had never imagined that Earth, a small backward planet, could pose such a threat. Alarms blared across Xyrex as the human fleet appeared. Admiral Foster's voice rang out across the comm channels. "This is Admiral Jane Foster of the Earth Defense Fleet. We are here to end your tyranny. Surrender now, or face the consequences of your actions." For a moment, there was silence. Then the sky above Xyrex lit up with the fire of 1,000 Imperial warships launching into space. The Empire had chosen to fight. "All ships, engage," Admiral Foster ordered. The space around Xyrex erupted into chaos. Lasers and missiles crisscrossed the void, exploding in brilliant flashes of light. The Dreadnoughts proved their worth, their advanced shields absorbing hits that would have destroyed lesser ships. On the ground, the people of Xyrex watched in terror. Many had never seen real combat before. They had always believed their empire was invincible. Now they saw it challenged by a race they had dismissed as primitive. The battle raged for hours. Imperial ships fell by the hundreds, unable to match the firepower of the Earth fleet. But the humans took losses too. Brave men and women gave their lives, their ships exploding in silent bursts of flame. As the fight continued, something unexpected happened. Ships from other conquered worlds began to arrive. But instead of joining the Empire, they turned their guns on the Imperial forces. The Empire's cruelty had made them many enemies, and now those enemies saw a chance for freedom. Admiral Foster watched from her bridge as allies she never expected joined the fight. Tears glistened in her eyes as she realized this was no longer just Earth's battle. It had become a fight for freedom for the entire galaxy. By the end of the day, the space around Xyrex was filled with the broken remains of thousands of ships. The Imperial fleet was in ruins, its once proud warships now drifting debris. The Earth fleet, though damaged, still stood strong. Admiral Foster opened a channel to all ships, allied and enemy alike. Her voice was tired, but filled with determination. "To all Imperial forces, your fleet is destroyed. Your empire is falling. I offer you one last chance to surrender. To our new allies, we thank you for your bravery. Together, we have struck a blow for freedom that will echo across the stars." As her words faded, a cheer went up from every human ship. They had won the first battle. But all knew that the war was far from over. The Empire still held vast territories, and it would not give up easily. On Earth, people celebrated this first victory, but they also prepared for the long fight ahead. The road to freedom would be hard, but humanity was ready for the challenge. The victory at Xyrex was just the beginning. As news of the Empire's defeat spread across the galaxy, hope loomed on 1,000 worlds. But the Empire was vast, and it would not fall easily. On Earth, leaders gathered once again to plan their next move. The room buzzed with excitement, but also worry. They had won a great battle, but the war was far from over. General Maria Rodriguez, a tough woman with graying hair, stood to speak. "We've bloodied the Empire's nose," she said, her voice firm. "But now, they know we're a threat. They'll hit back hard." As if to prove her point, reports began to flood in. The Empire was rallying its forces, calling in fleets from every corner of the galaxy. They were preparing for a massive counterattack. Dr. Chen, the scientist who had designed the Dreadnoughts, spoke up. "We need more ships," she said. "And we need them fast." The leaders nodded in agreement. Earth had to prepare for the biggest fight in human history. All across the planet, factories roared to life. Day and night, workers built new dreadnoughts. Farmers worked overtime to grow food for the war effort. Everyone did their part, knowing that the future of humanity was at stake. In space, Admiral Foster and her fleet raced from world to world, freeing planets from Imperial control. Many alien races joined their cause, grateful for the chance to fight back against their oppressors. One of these new allies was a race called the Steril. They looked like tall, blue trees and had powerful psychic abilities. Their leader, Elder Xan, met with Admiral Foster on her flagship. "We have waited centuries for this moment," Elder Xan said, his leaves rustling with emotion. "The Empire took our world, our freedom. We will fight beside you until the last star burns out." Admiral Foster smiled, touched by the alien's words. "Together," she said, "we'll build a better galaxy for all." As allies joined the fight, Earth's leaders faced a new challenge. How would they govern the freed worlds? They didn't want to become a new empire themselves. After much debate, they decided to form the Galactic Alliance. Each world would govern itself, but all would work together for peace and freedom. It was a new way of thinking, very different from the Empire's cruel rule. Meanwhile, the Empire was not sitting idle. Emperor Zork, the same alien who had first conquered Earth, was furious. He gathered his top generals and demanded action. "Crush these human vermin," he roared, his 4 eyes glowing with rage. "I want Earth turned to ash." The Imperial fleet set out, 10,000 ships strong. Their target, Earth itself. They thought that by destroying humanity's homeworld, they could end the rebellion. But Earth was ready. The planet was now ringed with defense stations. A new fleet of dreadnoughts waited in orbit, crewed by Earth's bravest men and women. As the Imperial fleet approached, Admiral Foster sent a message to every ship and station. "This is the moment we've prepared for. Fight not just for Earth, but for every world that yearns to be free. Remember Timmy. Remember all those who have suffered under the Empire. Today, we make our stand." The space around Earth exploded into battle. Lasers lit up the night sky, visible even from the ground. People watched from below, hearts pounding, praying for victory. The fight was fierce. Imperial ships pushed forward, determined to break through Earth's defenses. But the dreadnoughts held firm, their advanced weapons tearing through enemy ships. Hours passed. The battle raged on. Both sides took heavy losses, but neither would give up. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. As the sun rose over Earth, casting golden light on the battle above, the tide began to turn. The Imperial fleet, worn down by Earth's defenses, began to falter. Admiral Foster saw her chance. "All ships, push forward," she commanded. "Let's end this here and now." The Earth fleet surged forward, their weapons blazing. Imperial ships began to fall back, then to retreat in panic. As the last Imperial ship fled, a cheer went up from every human ship and station. Earth had stood against the full might of the Empire, and won. But even as they celebrated, all knew that the war was far from over. The Empire still held much of the galaxy. The fight for freedom would continue. But now, the humans and their allies faced the future with hope and determination. The age of the Empire was ending. A new day was dawning for the galaxy. The battle for Earth was over, but the war raged on. Across the galaxy, planets rose up against the Empire, inspired by humanity's victory. The Galactic Alliance grew stronger each day, as more races joined the fight for freedom. On a distant planet called Nebulon, a key battle was about to begin. Nebulon was home to the Empire's largest shipyards. If the Alliance could capture it, they would deal a crippling blow to the Empire's ability to make war. Admiral Foster stood on the bridge of her flagship, studying the holographic map of Nebulon. Beside her stood Grax, a defector from the Empire who now fought for the Alliance. "The defenses are strong," Grax said, pointing to the ring of orbital stations around the planet. "But there's a weak spot here, in the South Polar region." Admiral Foster nodded. "That's where we'll strike. Prepare the fleet." As the Alliance fleet moved into position, tension filled the air. Everyone knew how important this battle was. Victory here could turn the tide of the war. The attack began at dawn. Alliance ships burst from hyperspace, catching the Imperial forces off guard. Lasers and missiles crisscrossed space as the two fleets clashed. On the ground, the people of Nebulon watched in awe. Many of them were slaves, forced to work in the Empire's shipyards. Now, they saw a chance for freedom. In the midst of the space battle, transport ships slipped through the chaos. They carried Alliance ground troops, ready to take the fight to the surface of Nebulon. Leading the ground assault was Colonel Jack Thompson, a tough soldier with a heart of gold. As his transport landed, he turned to his troops. "Remember," he said, "we're not just here to win a battle. We're here to liberate a world." The soldiers cheered and charged out of the ship. They were met with heavy resistance from Imperial troops, but their determination was unbreakable. As the battle raged on the ground and in space, something unexpected happened. The slaves in the shipyards, seeing their chance, began to rebel. They turned their tools into weapons and attacked their Imperial overseers. News of the slave rebellion reached Admiral Foster. She immediately ordered more troops to support the uprising. "This is our chance," she told her officers. "With the people of Nebulon on our side, we can't lose." The battle for Nebulon lasted for 3 days. It was the longest and hardest fight the Alliance had faced so far. But slowly, surely, they gained ground. On the 3rd day, Colonel Thompson and his troops reached the main Imperial command center. The colonel himself led the final charge, dodging laser fire as he ran. Inside the command center, the Imperial commander realized all was lost. He sent out a galaxy-wide message: "Nebulon has fallen. The Alliance is unstoppable." As Alliance troops secured the planet, scenes of joy erupted everywhere. Former slaves embraced their liberators, crying tears of happiness. For the first time in generations, they were free. Admiral Foster landed on the planet to oversee the cleanup. As she walked through the streets, people cheered and threw flowers at her feet. She felt humbled by their gratitude. In the main square of the capital city, Admiral Foster gave a speech to the newly freed people of Nebulon. "Today marks not just your liberation," she said, "but a turning point in our war against the Empire. From this day forward, Nebulon's great shipyards will build ships for freedom, not oppression." The crowd's cheers were deafening. They lasted long into the night as people celebrated their newfound freedom. Back on her ship, Admiral Foster received a message from Earth. The Alliance leaders had been monitoring the battle closely. Their message was simple: "Congratulations. With Nebulon under our control, victory is now inevitable." Foster smiled as she read the message. She thought of Timmy, the little boy whose death had started all this. "We did it, Timmy," she whispered. "We're bringing freedom to the galaxy." As she looked out at the stars, Admiral Foster knew that the final battle was yet to come. The Empire was wounded but not defeated. The hardest fight still lay ahead. But for now, she allowed herself to enjoy this moment of triumph. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was leading the way. The final battle for the galaxy was at hand. After years of war, the Galactic Alliance had pushed the Empire back to its last stronghold, the fortress world of Imperius Prime. This was where Emperor Zork had retreated with his most loyal forces. Admiral Foster stood before a holographic map of Imperius Prime, surrounded by the leaders of the Alliance. The planet was a metal sphere, covered in weapons and shields. It looked unbeatable. "This is it," Foster said, her voice firm. "Everything we fought for comes down to this moment." The Alliance had gathered its entire fleet for this battle. Over 1 million ships hung in space, ready for the fight. It was the largest armada the galaxy had ever seen. As the fleet approached Imperius Prime, Emperor Zork's voice boomed across all channels. "Foolish humans and their alien pets," he sneered. "You think you can defeat me? I am eternal. I am the Empire." Admiral Foster's reply was calm but strong. "No, Zork. You're just a bully whose time has come. Surrender now, and we'll show mercy." Zork's laughter was his only answer. Then the sky lit up with the fire of 1,000,000 weapons. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Ships exploded by the thousands on both sides. Laser fire and explosions turned the space around Imperius Prime into a sea of light. On the ground, Colonel Thompson led a daring assault on the planet's surface. His troops fought their way through streets and buildings, facing fierce resistance from Imperial soldiers. In orbit, Admiral Foster coordinated the space battle from her flagship. She watched as brave pilots and crew members gave their lives for freedom. Each loss hurt her heart, but she knew they couldn't give up. Hours passed, and still the battle raged. The Alliance pushed forward, but the Empire's defenses seemed endless. Many began to wonder if they could really win. Then something unexpected happened. A group of Imperial ships suddenly turned and began firing on their own side. Confused voices filled the comm channels. "This is General Kraz," a gravelly voice announced. "We've had enough of Zork's madness. We fight for the Alliance now." Cheers erupted across the Alliance fleet. This was the break they needed. With the Empire's forces now divided, the Alliance pressed their advantage. They punched through the planetary shields and landed more troops on the surface. Colonel Thompson and his soldiers fought their way to the heart of the Imperial Palace. There, in a massive throne room, they found Emperor Zork. The alien tyrant was not going to give up easily. He fought like a cornered animal, his weapons blazing, but he was outnumbered and outmatched. In the end, it was a young soldier named Sarah, barely out of her teens, who took the final shot. Her laser blast struck Zork in the chest, and the Emperor fell. As word of Zork's defeat spread, the remaining Imperial forces laid down their arms. After centuries of tyranny, the Galactic Empire was no more. Admiral Foster landed on Imperius Prime to oversee the end of the war. As she walked through the streets, she saw allies and former enemies working together to help the wounded and clear the debris. In the Imperial Palace, now renamed the Hall of Freedom, Foster met with leaders from across the galaxy. Together, they signed a new treaty, forming a galactic republic where all races would have a voice. As the ceremony ended, an aide handed Foster a message. It was from Earth, and it contained two simple words: "Timmy's avenged." Tears filled Foster's eyes as she remembered the little boy whose death had started this all. She looked out at the stars and whispered, "Rest easy, Timmy. The galaxy is free." In the days that followed, celebrations erupted on every world. The long nightmare of imperial rule was over. A new age of peace and cooperation was beginning. There would be challenges ahead, of course. Rebuilding the galaxy would take time. But for now, people everywhere looked to the future with hope. And on a small blue planet called Earth, humans looked up at the stars with pride. They had faced the greatest threat in history and emerged victorious. They had changed the fate of the galaxy forever. As night fell on Earth, parents told their children a new bedtime story. It was a tale of bravery and determination, of a small planet that stood up to a mighty empire. It was the story of how humanity brought freedom to the stars.